everyone, welcome to Amateur Effects Views. I'm Theo. This is Making the Band episode 2. So, I'm creating a stone rock band called Red Bolt. It's already got an Instagram profile, so follow me on Instagram and then follow Red Bolt. Last episode I covered getting the bass tone. Today I'm going to cover getting the sort of main guitar. Now the main guitar in this case is a Squire Bass 6. So it's tuned to the 6th string like a guitar, same tuning, but an octave down like a bass. What I'm doing in this case is actually tuning it up to B. So it's the equivalent. So it's now a baritone. It's a 30-inch baritone guitar. Sounds like this. So what I'm going to do first is run through how I'm going to pick and choose my setup, and you're going to join me on that. I've got 3 amp models first. I think best to start with the amps. I've got the Oxford by Tech 21, which models orange amps. I've got the Joyo American Sound, which models the Tech 21 Blonde, which is Fender amps. And I've got the Tech 21 Leads, which models high watt amps. Being that this is going to be kind of straight ahead stoner rock, I have a feeling I'll go with the Oxford, but I'm going to record a loop on my Boss RC3 loop station and run it through each of these so we can pick an amp. Once we picked an amp, then we'll move into fuzzes, distortions, boosts, and see where we go from there. Okay. Okay, so I think they're all sounding pretty good for it. I think I'm going to stick with the Oxford. It's actually very close between the Oxford and the Leeds, but I'm going to stick with the Oxford in this case. I just think it's got more of the sound I want. Okay, let's bring in some fuzz pedals. Okay, so we've now got the Sanford & Son Bluebeard, which is Big Muff based. We've got the Twin Note, I don't know, Pi Fuzz, which is, I believe, Big Muff based, but actually I'm not entirely certain that it is. On the face value of it, it basically looks like a clone of the Earthquaker Devices hoof, but it's not. The scoop control there controls more of a kind of Rangemaster style boost, like a top boost, which actually makes it really cool in that regard. You've got your Colour Sound Fuzz there, which is like a Mark III tone bender, and you've got the Blammo Electronics Tomb Sender, which is also a Mark III tone bender. The Mark III tone benders, for those that don't know, are somewhat similar to a Big Muff anyway. So we've got some similar sort of sounding pedals, and I'm going to pick the one I like the most from this, and then move on to another batch of pedals. So the winner moves forward. So that is tough. I'm actually feeling the Twin Oak. It is a super cheap fuzz pedal. I think I first saw 60 Cycle Hum do a video doing it, using it, and I thought, wow, okay, if that's a Quaker Devices hoof clone for like £20, then I'm all over it. I don't think it is a hoof clone, but it has some similarities there. I'm not even sure if it's a big muff, but definitely there is some similarities between that and the Bluebeard. The scoop control is, I don't know if you can hear it there, but it makes everything super messy as you turn it up. But at that point, the Tomb Sender's great. They're all great fuzzes. I think just for this thing, I'm going to go with the Twin Note. It was actually most tough between the Bluebeard and the Twin Note. I felt that the Twin Note just sounded a bit tighter. I know most people who have a Bluebeard actually use it on bass, as I do. The Twin Note actually just had that kind of bit of definition without being too top-endy like the Colour Sound was. The Tomb Sender was great. I actually recorded this video before, but I didn't like how it came out, so I'm re-recording it there. And actually, the Tomb Sender went through to the sort of finals of my little fuzz game. But I'm going to keep the Twin Note for now. And now I'm going to move on to some different fuzzes. Okay, so now we've got our fuzzes. I've kept the Oxford, the Twin Note. Now we've got a Kaolin Fuzz, which is based on the orange one. I think is a germanium tone bend, germanium fuzz face. So yeah, definitely it's after a load of buffers. So we'll see how that turns out. We then got the Blue Colander Opiate, which is super fuzz based. We then got the Kaolin Puffer, which I think is meant to be silicon fuzz face based. We've then got the Behringer Super Fuzz, which is based on the Univox Super Fuzz, just like the Opiate. So let's give all these a go. Yeah. that's super interesting. As I said on the last video, I did this, and actually the opiate one. But this time I'm doing it, the twin note, I think just still has it. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. I mean, there's points where it just kind of gets a bit out of control, a little too mushy. I think there's basically maybe one setting in there that I really want. But that one setting is currently giving me what I think I want for the baritone guitar in this sort of setup. So I guess the next thing I'm going to do is run some overdrives and see what happens there into the twin note high fuzz. Okay, so now we kept the twin note. We're adding the Earthquaker plumes, the Spaceman Saturn 6, the Crowther Hotcake, and the Stone Deaf Effects Q Boost. So let's run through them. I'm going to put the twin note on. So you know what? Actually, not feeling any of them. I don't think any of them add anything to the twine note that it needs. So I guess don't be afraid just to say, hey, you got loads of cool pedals. You're not going to use any of them. You're just going to go with that really cheap one and the preamp. Essentially, this is going to be the main guitar, the kind of foundation. Essentially, it's going to be like part of the rhythm section, really. So it's just there to thicken up the bass lines. So I'm happy to just go with the twine note. I will be doing another guitar on this. Again, what's weird is that last time I recorded this, came out very differently. I think I ended up with the opiate, so going for that super fuzz sound, and the Saturn 6. Now, part of me really liked how it came out before, and I didn't use the twine note. I don't know whether I should just plug in the opiate once more, because I do love the opiate. The thing that's kind of getting me with the opiate is, some of you know, also do another musical project called Betazoids, and the opiate is all over that. And it's somewhat similar to stoner rock. There's big riffs and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't say it's stoner rock myself. Some of it is, but mainly it's more of like a punk band in my eyes. But I don't want it all to sound too similar. I'm trying to go for something more distinct, which is why I wanted a different sound. I'm just going to grab the opiate though, because I think I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't try it again. Well, I'm glad I did that because, again, the opiate and the Saturn 6 as a combination actually sounded better to me than the Twin. So I'm happy with that. What's interesting there is that the Hotcake I actually preferred as a standalone overdrive. I guess it's not that interesting. It's well regarded as a really great overdrive. It's just I've not used it on guitar before. I use it for bass. It's currently, I think, set up for bass. But yeah, loving it. Sounding great. That's kind of the advantage here. If you can find an overdrive that works well on bass, kind of got something that should kind of add something to the baritone, because obviously this is quite a bit lower tuning. It's like what, a fifth below? I'm not sure. So it is quite low anyway, but actually I'll probably cut off most of the low end there. I've been watching a really great channel by a guy called The Bun. He is baritone obsessed. He does loads of videos mainly about baritone stuff and, long scale guitars like the 30-inch Squire Bass 6 here. So that's been really useful and kind of inspired me a little bit to do more baritone stuff. Okay, so that's great. So it's going to be the Opiate, the Saturn 6 and the Oxford. So I'm happy with that. I'm not going to add any other modulation or delays or anything to it just yet, because I think I just want to keep this solid along with the bass, and we'll have another guitar that will add more like flavor. All right. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Feels like it's been a bit of a mammoth one. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.